Okay, it is official. I am a sucker for a gadget. I'm not unwell, but I am significantly below average right now. I just feel worn out, legs hurt, back hurts, feel tired. My highly tuned immune system, a Navy SEAL of immune systems, has just been overrun. It was too busy dealing with the fallout from last weekend's mountain race. My quads are still killing me today. Too busy dealing with overtraining in the gym this week. I managed to pull my back doing chins, and too busy dealing with a general lack of sleep and rest and recuperation that overtraining has set in. So I'm in here on a Sunday, and I was not this morning at the Sonning 10K run that I'd been really looking forward to doing. Didn't go. Theoretically could have gone and picked up a medal, but I'm kind of punishing myself by not allowing myself to go. Hopefully that lack of medal that I've paid for will now just be seared into my mind as a reminder that when I feel tired, get some bloody rest. The good news though is it means I get to at last fit the new tyres to my bike. More on that in a minute. First of all, swim update. Now, swimming. So, despite being too tired, I went swimming 3 times this week. My plan with the swimming was just to get to a point where I could do 100 meters in 2 minutes. Yeah, 1 kilometer, 20 minutes. I couldn't do it, not at all. So I worked on it until I could, and now I can. The last 3 swims that I've done, 1953, and 1932, and a 1958. And I get the 1 kilometer is nowhere near far enough for an Ironman, but the plan was to get fast enough and then train properly. Whether that's a particularly scientific way of doing it or not, I don't care. I'm still hating it, but I'm quicker. And that's probably better than loving it and being slower, maybe? Don't know. That's the swim update. What else? Stuff arrived. I was going to call this section Trophy Tuesday, but it is neither Tuesday and nor am I likely to get another one, so instead it's going to be called Look at My Award Sunday. This is the supathlon that I did, second male. I didn't realise there was a trophy for second male, but it came in the post, so yay me. It's not as big as the bloody dogs, but I have the greater life expectancy, so put that where it can be seen. What else arrived? GoPro 9. Quickest review you're ever going to see on a comparison between the new GoPro 9 and the previous GoPro 8. The battery door on the GoPro 8 falls off if you look at it funny. And given it's an action camera, so you might be wanting to open that door to get access to the battery or the SD card in conditions where falling on the floor might expose it to mud or dirt or sinking to the bottom of the ocean, that is a glaringly significant issue. GoPro 9. This is going to have a proper test next weekend. In fact, one of the reasons I have not run today and I'm trying to now properly take some rest is because next weekend is a big one. I have a nuclear obstacle course race on the Saturday, and I'm then running London Marathon with my brother virtually on the Sunday. The 9 is going to be tested, especially at the obstacle course race. I'm going to test this thing against mud and dirt and grime and monkey bars. Does it work when your hands are muddy? Do the buttons work when it's been dunked underwater and you're covered in crap? Proper test next weekend. What else? Arm warmers. I got arm warmers. My arms were getting chilly, and hopefully they now won't get as chilly. Next time I ride the bike and it is cold, I will review them more thoroughly. But that review will probably consist of me saying, no, my arms are no longer as chilly. What else? Oh, the last thing was, from this box came these lights. One of the problems with filming in the garage is that it is dark and gloomy, and even though I have quite a fast lens on this camera, and I have to run it wide open, it still is not great. The ISO has to run very high and the quality is, I'm kind of shattering the fourth wall illusion here, but there is various things that go on behind the scenes to try and make these videos appear at least slightly presentable. I now have better lighting. Can you tell? Comment below. Does it look any better, any worse? No difference whatsoever. Tell me. And while you're at it, subscribe as well. You don't, however you subscribe, click on something, I expect. I mean, they look bright, who knows? When is a tutorial not really a tutorial? When it's one of my tutorials. If you are new to this channel, the point of it is not, and never has been, and never will be, me saying, don't do that, do it like this. It is far more, whatever you're doing, or whatever you want to be doing, try improving your performance slightly, or maybe starting it if you've not already done so, and you might find it easier than you had anticipated. If that then takes you in the direction of being better than most, you will find that to be a very cool place to be. And this video is just my example of me doing that for the things that I'm interested in. You don't have to do an Ironman or go from being a shitty runner to being an okay runner. All you have to do is think, if that big lump can run across a mountain, I could probably sign up for a half marathon next year. Or whatever, take up guitar lessons, learn a new language. Faire la leçon parler français bonsoir, for example. So, tyres. I am going from 25mm tyres that are on the road bike at the moment, Cervelo P3X, to these 28mm tubeless tyres. It is a transition, especially the tubeless bit, that a lot of people online have said is quite tricky, and in fact has put them off doing it. But there appear to be loads of videos online showing how it can be done. So you don't need another expert showing you how to do it, which is handy because I'm not. What you need is a newbie showing you how he did it very straightforwardly, so you can then go and find your own tutorial video and do it yourself. If it doesn't go to plan and I end up failing and perhaps even destroying my wheels, then je suis désolé. So to recap, the Cervelo P3X has got 25mm tyres on it at the moment with inner tubes in. And the main reason that I'm changing this, because I'll explain some of the other benefits of the changes, the main reason is it is just too damn harsh. When I'm riding along, every little bump I hit is just juddering right through me. I came off the last ride thinking that needs to change. Okay, the experts amongst you are going to spot that I have skipped a step here and already removed the tyre and the old tube. That's kind of something of a public service safety measure. If you don't know how to get your tyre and old tube off, you probably have no business going any further with this process. So figure that part out yourself. I have also installed already the tubeless valve on there. Obviously there is no tube for the valve to be attached to, so you have a special tubeless valve that does the job instead. What I am going to do is remove the core from the valve for reasons that will be obvious in a bit. And here is a useful tip. Always have a little pot for your bits to go in. What I like to do is that when I finish the job, go back to the pot, see how many bits are still in the pot, and if there's more than about 4, I then decide whether or not to ride whatever it is I've just fixed. 5 and upwards, that might well fall apart. Below 4, you can normally get away with it. That's a joke, there should be nothing in the pot. My wheels are, what are they? They're tubeless ready. So I have already got the spokes sealed with, how have they sealed those? It's done at the factory. If not, you need to put the tape around the rims and all that sort of stuff. I've done that on my mountain bike. It's a relatively straightforward process. It's not the part of this job that people get stuck with. So I can jump straight to sticking the new tyre on, putting the sealant in. I mean, it's the easy bit, isn't it? Muck-off's sealant. I've used Stan sealant in the past. I don't know why I went for muck-off. I'd heard good things about it, I think is the gist, and so I have that. I've also got, as a way of putting the sealant in, that can be fiddly, so I got this. How cool is that? It's like a, well, it is a syringe, isn't it? But it's like kind of mechanical, and it just looks quite cool. Actually, before I put this on, let me just give you some of the benefits of this whole process. I couldn't even remember them. There were so many. I was genuinely surprised. I was doing it because the ride is too harsh, but when I looked into reasons to do it, there was actually a bunch of stuff. First of all, going from 25 to 28mm, so basically making the tyre wider. Now the theory is that actually, first of all, going wider, for reasons I can't understand, actually improves the aerodynamics, and improves the rolling resistance. You'd think those two things would be worse with a wider, fatter tyre, but they're not. I'll put a link down below to the website that I was reading that had all the information, the scientific information as to why that was an improvement. The third reason is it doesn't bounce around as much. When the wheel is rolling along with a rock hard, because if you're running 25mm tyres, you're running them at maybe 100 psi, they are hard. When it comes to a bump in the road, the tyre doesn't deform because it's rock hard. So instead, the wheel has to effectively go up over the bump and then down the other side and onwards. So instead of it going straight, it's going up and down. Does that make sense? And not only up and down in this 2D way, I always cycle 3D. It's also moving left to right. Basically, the wheel is being moved around all over the place by whatever imperfections are in the road, which makes for an energy draining ride for me because I'm trying to hold on to the thing, and actually a very inefficient forward travel for the wheel. With a 28mm tyre running at a slightly lower air pressure, the tyre can deform more, so when it hits that bump in the road, the wheel just carries on going straight, and the deformed tyre allows that to happen. So that's the advantage of going from 25 to 28mm. Tubeless, speed, weight, comfort and punctures. Punctures is the main one. It's the reason I run it. And punctures is the reason I run tubeless on my mountain bike and the reason I ran tubeless on my motorbikes when I ran them, my off-road motorbikes. Firstly, you don't get pinch flats. Pinch flats when you hit a bump really hard and it deforms the tyre so hard against the rim that it pinches the tube inside and you get a puncture. The other problem you get with regular tubes is the small thorn or spike, whatever, a nail, goes through the tyre, punches in the tube, that's it, you've got a hole in your tube. With tubeless, two things happen. First of all, you don't get pinch flats because there's no tube to pinch. And if you get a small puncture, the hope is that your sealant will fill that small hole. If that doesn't work, you can use a plug kit to put a rubber plug in the tyre that will seal a slightly larger hole. And in theory, you can be up and riding again within a matter of a couple of minutes rather than having to take off your tyre, patch your tube, replace your tube, whatever it might be, and spending 10, 15, 20 minutes at the side of the road. Sometimes tyres are directional, as in you should install it facing the right way. Sometimes when I ask these questions out loud on camera, I think, do I appear an idiot for asking these questions? But then I guess that's kind of the point. If somebody that doesn't know what they're doing can still do this, then most people probably can. Rotation, it has little arrows saying which way it has to rotate. So that way. Almost on. Done. Relatively straightforward. The job now is pretty simple. You just pump it up. Here is where everybody gets stuck. Few steps to this. The first is getting the air in fast enough. If you have a compressor in your garage, you're laughing. I don't. So I use one of these, a blast pump, I call it. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be called. Blast pump sounds cool though. The idea is that you fill this chamber up with your regular pump, so this chamber is holding about 140 psi, and then in one go you just release all of that air compressed into the tyre. It blasts it in very, very quickly. The other step is to remove the valve core so the air can just rush straight in. Lubrication is the next bit. I, on my mountain bike, have always used whatever sealant I'm using as the lubricant. It struck me as being slippy and therefore a good lubricant, and also a sealant, so one assumes good at sealing things. So all I do is dip my finger in some sealant, run it around the edge on both sides and see if that works. Let's give that a go. Okay, so the job now is to get this pumped into this until this is 140 psi, and then let all the air from here into here in one go. How easy was that? Seriously, how easy was that? Man, I should make those expert tutorials. The pinging noise we heard was the tyre pinging onto the bead on the rim, so it's seated properly. Yeah, pretty straightforward. When I remove this now, all the air is going to come out because the valve core is not in there. So we need to add the sealant inside the tyre chamber. Cool gadget time. According to the muck-off instructions, a road bike tyre needs between 30 and 45 mils. And I'm going to suck up 90 mil so that I've got enough for both tyres. No, not my syringe only goes up to 50 mil. Here we go. Put the valve core back in the valve, and now I just need to pump it back up again. I'm going to use the blast pump again, just to make sure it pops back into position nice and quick. Tyre is firm, but it won't have quite enough pressure, so I'm just going to pump it up properly with the track pump. Done. Pretty straightforward. That is a noticeably bigger looking tyre. 25 to 28 mil doesn't sound like a lot, but also it's bigger than 10% increase. Is it 10%? 25, 10% would be 2.5. Yeah, it's more than 10%. So it's noticeable. In fact, it just makes you want to go and ride it, which I shouldn't, because I'm obviously trying to rest and recuperate, and going for a ride would be stupid. Done. Rear went on just as easily as the front one did. I don't know if I got lucky both times, but they just popped straight on. Very, very straightforward. The gadget for injecting the sealant made things even simpler, but it wasn't a complicated job. I'm not entirely sure what the fuss is about. Maybe some tyres are worse than others. Some wheel rims are worse, perhaps. I'm just naturally gifted. Probably not. So what I should do now is tidy up. What I should not do is go out for a ride, because that is not conducive to rest and recuperation. Although it would have been nice, because I could have then reported back as to whether it makes any difference. It does feel like it might. I mean, they do feel, but it's cold. It's very cold out, so that's obviously, if you're not feeling great in the cold. Although I have got the arm warmers. I know, not the most sensible way to recover, but that thing is like a different bike. It is mad how much difference the tiny change in tyre from 25 to 28 mil has made. It's gone from, how can I describe this? But it's gone from feeling like this to, like, I can tell the imperfections are there. If I'm riding over a rough section of road, I can feel that it's rough. But that harsh juddering, it's hard to describe. But on a 3-4 hour bike ride, it's so draining to constantly be, upper body's supposed to be quite relaxed on the bike. My upper body is getting whacked just holding onto the bloody thing. There's probably a better way of explaining it than that. I can't think of one. It's much, much improved. And it's also tubeless, so hopefully, fingers crossed, if I ever have a puncture, it will either self-seal or I can fix it myself. Oh yeah, one thing that I was going to mention earlier. The one issue that people sometimes come up with for not running tubeless, if you have a really bad puncture that you can't seal with a plug, then you're stuck. Somebody even told me that they'd had to call their wife to come and fetch them from a bike ride because they had a big puncture, they couldn't seal it, they're stuck. here's the solution. Carry a bloody tube, you idiot. I don't quite understand. I listed all earlier the reasons why you would run tubeless. What isn't a reason to run tubeless is don't get to carry a spare tube. You can carry a spare tube. You should carry a spare tube. Then if you have a complete failure, a big hole that you can't plug, you just chuck a tube in. Problem solved. It always amazed me that people would say, oh, I'm stuck without a tube. Well, take a bloody tube then, moron. Right, loved it. Also, arm warmers, stating the obvious, my arms are warm. In fact, what I've now noticed is that my upper body is now cold. I'm going to need some sort of base layer for cold rides. In fact, my arms are getting hot. And the GoPro 9 worked. So, although I shouldn't really go out for a ride, I've managed to test everything that has arrived. The lights, the GoPro, the bike, the arm warmers. Yeah, I didn't get to go and win my medal this morning, but it's turned out to be an all right day.